When you're starting out in print on demand, it can be extremely difficult to wade through the endless sea of content, information, and internet gurus all saying different things and sending you in different directions. Today, we're going to prepare you to launch your brand new print on demand business from scratch. And we're going to give you a clear path to go from nothing right up until launch. My name is Kerry Egler, here with my co-host Adrian Von Arx, and welcome to the #1 POD podcast, the Print on Demand Playbook. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Print on Demand Playbook podcast. I'm Kerry here with Adrian. What's going on, Adrian?
Dude, I'm good, man. I'm always good. I'm always happy when we're on the podcast talking to our people. So no complaints, man. Happy to be here as always. How are you, man?
I am doing phenomenal, doing really great. Excited about today's episode, going through some of those beginner steps as you're, kind of getting started with a brand new apparel business. Like, there's so much to learn. There's so much to figure out. And so I want to just go through kind of some clear steps for people to really, I think, do it the right way. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But I want to kick off today's episode with a review from one of our listeners. And I mentioned this on one of our recent podcast episodes, but this is actually a review, actually an email I got from one of our listeners. And the email was so awesome, I had to share it here on the podcast. So I want to share this one. It is from Alicia RW, and she's a listener here on the podcast from Australia and sent me this email. She said, "I've been loving yours and Adrian's podcast. Based on your encouragement and teachings, I've made 7 sales within the first couple of weeks of starting. Yay me, go team." She put a smiley face emoji.
Let's go.
"I just want to say how incredibly grateful I am for you two in being so open and transparent about your knowledge and experience, which has made starting this e-commerce business a breeze. Thank you." Dude, how good is that email that I got?
Dude,
so good. So good.
It feels so good hearing this kind of stuff, man. And I'm not just talking from like an ego standpoint. It's so cool to know that what you're putting out there is actually having an impact, because that's really what it comes down to, right? We are very much lead with value type guys. We teach people how to build lead with value brands. And I love shouting out our listeners. We definitely have the best listeners out there. You guys are awesome. I just love all the action takers. And it just, man, I feel like I'm running out of things to say, but it's just like overwhelmed with gratitude and just like excitement for people that are actually like investing the time to learn this stuff and then going out and actually putting it into action. It's really exciting. Like, it's a very cool feeling knowing that you're changing lives. And I don't think there's a better feeling. So
yeah, I think when we read these every week, we like feel the need to want to say something back. Like, we're so grateful, which we are. That's why we keep saying these things.
Yeah.
But I think we're just kind of find ourselves at a loss for words a lot of times. At least I find myself like, man, it's just so awesome. I don't even know what to say except thank you for listening, all of you. And thank you for, doing something with this information, not just letting it fall on deaf ears. So Alicia, huge congratulations to you for getting those first 7 sales. Stick with us, and we'd love to hear from you again. And if you are a listener of the podcast, please, or maybe you're watching this on YouTube, please leave us a review, Apple, Spotify, wherever. We'd love to read that on air. Feel free to shoot us an Instagram direct message. I'm Kerry Egler. Adrian, Ecom Legends Academy.
At Ecom Legends Academy. Love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, and then you can also email us. Mine's Kerry@shirtschool.com is probably the best way to get in touch with me. Kerry@shirtschool.com. Adrian, feel free if you want to.
Adrian@ecomlegendsacademy.com.
There you go. Adrian@ecomlegendsacademy.com. We love to hear from you guys. So it's always amazing to hear from you. All right. With that out of the way, let's get into a quick breakdown of today's episode. So we're going to be going through basically everything that you need to know up until the launch of your new brand. So what are all the things that we need to know? How do we do it the right way? What kind of things should we be thinking about as we prepare to launch, right? We don't want to miss anything. So these are the most important kind of steps. And a lot of this is going to be pretty tactical today. So it's not necessarily like, just these high level strategies. It's that we're getting a little bit more tactical with like some specific things you need to be thinking about and specific things you need to know. And I want to let you know, like, we're putting this out there because I don't know about you, Adrian, but I wish I had a guide like this when I was starting. Like, I was trying
Mhm.
to figure it all out. And I said in the introduction of this episode, there are thousands of these gurus, out there on the internet, both, on YouTube or blogs or wherever. And there's just so much information. I'm not hating on any of those gurus. We put
Mhm.
out content ourselves. I don't like calling myself a guru. I don't think I am, but we're not hating on any of those people. There's just a lot of contradicting information. There's a lot of confusing information. And so, what I think is really helpful and what I would recommend is, and hopefully you are doing this if you're listening to this podcast, pick somebody, an expert, a coach, somebody that you can follow their system and their path. If you're listening to this podcast, we try to give really clear and concise information and try to give you that kind of clear path. So follow one person in their system and like do what they say, because if you try to do all these different things, try to combine all these strategies and tactics together and this or that, it just becomes convoluted, and you're probably not going to have the success you could have if you just follow one proven successful path. So I don't know about you, Adrian, but I wish I had a clear guide when I was starting out. What about you?
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. So well said. Like, definitely find someone you know, like, and trust, someone that's done this before and has had results before, and follow that proven strategy. There are a lot of different people that have had successes, and they're not all in the same way, and they might have different strategies, and that's okay. Follow the strategy that you think is best for you. But, what we teach, Kerry, like, we love just like being crystal clear on the strategy, because we know what it's like not having the strategy, and we know what it's like having the strategy and then actually getting results from the strategy, right? So yeah, I 100% agree. A lot of people teach different strategies. Just find a strategy that you think like works for you, and follow that strategy. And I think we pride ourselves on really simplifying the process and kind of laying it out in a very step by step sort of format.
Yeah, so this episode is for beginners. If you're out there and maybe you just are trying to start your brand, or you haven't started yet, maybe this is the first episode you found of our podcast and you're like, I've never even thought about this, but yeah, I would be interested in starting up a t-shirt or apparel brand. This episode's for you. So we're going to walk you through those steps, things you should be thinking about up until your brand launch. I also want to let you know, if you want to go deeper on any of these topics discussed in this podcast, and if you want to go further into marketing and selling your products, I want to let you know next week I have a free 5-day event called the Launch Your Brand Challenge. It's where I actually go in depth on these topics. I teach live every day. It's not a pre recorded event. And it starts on Monday, July 29th. It is $1 per day of the training. It's $5 to attend. You get 5 days of training, which is really cool. And it's crazy to say this, Adrian, but we've had over 50,000 people attend this event since the first time we put it on in 2020. Like, it's truly the best thing that we do, that I put on. Like, it's just so rewarding. So if you want to go deeper on any of these topics, go register for that event. It's $5. kerryegler.com/LYB is the link to do that. You can find that down in the show notes. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end, but I did want to throw that out there here at the beginning for anybody that wants to go deeper in learning these topics, and learning the stuff we're talking about. So let's get into the meat and potatoes today. I want to start it off with this. The first kind of topic of discussion today is, what do you need to do before you start? What do you need to think about before you start? Because I really encourage people to take imperfect action. And I say that a lot. I've even got it like in my video background, right? Like, that's my motto, is take imperfect action. But you don't want to go out there and just start up a bunch of accounts and pay a bunch of money and spend a bunch of money potentially without knowing what you're doing or without having a plan, right?
Right.
And one of the just quick things I want to mention is, and I mentioned this before, I think on the pod, and you're, I'm sure you're aware of this, but man, I can't tell you how many people I've seen that they sprout up a business and they go and they start running Facebook ads, Instagram ads, right? And they don't know what they're doing, and they just end up wasting hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars on like advertising. And it's because they didn't plan. They didn't go through any training. They didn't think about these things in advance before they just threw up ads, right? So
Right.
what I don't want you to do as a beginner is I don't want you to just go throw up a bunch of stuff on the internet and hope it's going to sell. You need to have some planning before, right? And some strategy with it, right?
Yeah.
Taking imperfect action, when you get stuck on one of these things, like push through, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. That's the heart of that message is like it doesn't have to be perfect, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't plan, right? So,
Right.
what do you need to do before you start? The first thing that I would recommend that you do is choose a niche. Be specific, don't be just broad. And what I mean by that is you don't want to just go sell all the different designs to all the different kinds of people, right? It's important to be specialized and serve one smaller specialized market. Now, some examples of this are easy, right? You could think about pets, dogs, and cats. You could think about fitness. You could think about maybe activities or hobbies that you have. Like we've talked about pickleball so much on the podcast. That's a hobby that I have, right? Sports, different things like that, family. There are a ton of different niches that you could pick. But the most important thing is that you have a niche and that it is very clear and that you stick to that niche. And so I'm going to leave that there. But what are your thoughts on having a niche, Adrian?
Dude, it's the only strategy I recommend.
Yeah.
It's the only strategy I'm not saying there's no potential of having success by not niching down.
Mhm.
Especially it's platform dependent, right? A lot of people on Etsy have success not niching down, but that's a very different platform, a very different strategy. But
Mhm.
if you want to build a brand, a profitable and sustainable brand that maybe has an impact or mission based brand, and you want to attract a loyal following of raving fans and brand advocates, one of the best ways that you can get in front of those people and stand up from competitors is to niche down. So 100%.
Yeah, and we're gonna blow through a few of these because we got a lot of points to make. So I want to kind of blast through these a little bit, make sure that we have enough time here. But niching down is super important, and we both would highly recommend that. The second thing, you want to also think through who your ideal customer is. And I want to give you an example of that. I just mentioned pickleball, right? I actually played in a tournament this past weekend. 3 days, I medaled in 2 of the 3 days. That was
Let's
awesome. That's
go.
awesome. Yeah. But it was really fun. But if you think about something like pickleball and you could take any niche, right? We want to think about what are all the different types of people that are in that niche, and do we want to actually serve a specific portion of that community? Right now,
Mhm.
you could serve the whole community, but some niches, when you think about who is in that niche, there's very different people. So if you think about a niche like pickleball, right?
Mhm.
It's being flooded right now with young people. And so there are young, Gen Z type people that are into pickleball. They're like playing like crazy. They're getting into it, right? But then there's also the 75-year-old grandmas and grandpas that have been playing for 10 years and they're like super into pickleball, right? And those are very different markets. So it's really important when you choose your niche to also think about who your ideal customer is. You
Mhm.
want to think about things like what is their age, what is their ethnicity, where do they live, what's their occupation, what's their family dynamics like, right? Do they have children? Are they married? Are they single? Learning those things will allow you to speak to your customer on a more personal level and make a connection with them, which is going to lead to easier marketing and sales. And so
Mhm.
I think it's an important thing to think about before you start. Number one, choosing a niche. Number two, thinking about within that niche, who is the ideal customer you want to target. Thoughts
Right.
on that, Adrian?
I mean, it was said so well.
Yeah.
I second everything you just said.
Nice.
Definitely is about like making it easier for marketing and sales
Yeah.
purposes.
Yeah. So, continuing through here, some things you need to think about before you start. You want to name your brand. Obviously, you need to come up with a name for your brand. I prefer really simple names,
Mhm.
not trying to create new words or be too creative with it, but simple names, right? And you can put in some creativity, but naming your brand, I think the simpler the better. You also want to go and design a logo, right? Again, your logo doesn't have to be a complex logo. You don't have to, pay somebody to do a logo. There's so many different ways that you can get a logo done. But the most important thing is that I recommend that it's a simple logo, 1 to 2 colors, your
Mhm.
brand colors, whatever your brand colors are. It could be just text. A lot of logos are just text, a really, really cool font, just the name of your brand in text, or something like a very simple icon that represents, your niche along with the name. But you need to get a logo design before you start going out and trying to sell and build your store and all that kind of stuff. The next thing is, as you're preparing, as you're planning, you want to select your core product or your core products. You want to know, like, what kind of products are you thinking about selling, right? Because that's also going to help you determine what your designs are going to look like, et cetera, throughout the process. So I think it's a good thing as you're planning, kind of in those beginning stages, to think about what is going to be your core product or products. And
Mhm.
I would recommend somewhere between maybe 1 to 3 kind of core products as you're starting. It's perfectly okay as you're starting your brand to say, I'm just going to sell t-shirts. That's perfectly fine, right? Now, if you wanted to add on maybe hoodies and sweatshirts or tank tops and hoodies, something like that, that's perfectly fine as well. But you want to think about, what kind of core products do you want to sell? Maybe it's hats, right? Maybe it's mugs. Pick maybe 1 to 3 core products that you're going to start with, and this is also a really good opportunity for you to research some print on demand providers. Now, you can do this later in the process if you want. That's perfectly fine, but it helps select your core products if you actually go and look at some of the top print on demand providers and see what they have to offer. The easiest way that I found to do this, to actually research print on demand providers, is just go over to the Shopify App Store. So you can type in your browser, even if you don't have a Shopify account, you can type in apps.shopify.com. It's APPS, apps.shopify.com. Search for print on demand. It's going to come up with hundreds of apps. You can look at the top, maybe the top 10 there, the first page, and you can go out to their websites, right? You can open them up, go out to their website. Most of the time, you can look at their product catalog, see what they offer, see what their pricing is, those kind of things. And you can look at their products, what they actually offer, and that will help you look through the catalog and really select what you want to sell. And just for quick reference, I recently did an episode, is episode 80, I believe it was a solo episode, which was an in-depth guide on choosing the right print on demand. So I would recommend go back and listen to episode 80 if you want to go really deep on, like, what are the things to think about when you're choosing a print on demand partner. But Adrian, I
Mhm.
definitely want to know your thoughts on just kind of like selecting a core product as you're starting. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, a couple thoughts based on what you said. All good stuff. In terms of the name, I always say try to make it easy to say, easy to spell, and easy to remember. I think too
It's really
often
good.
people create these names where it sounds like something, but it's spelt differently.
Hmm.
Like it's
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh,
it's a great one.
pickleball, but with like a K and no C and only one L, and it's like
Yeah.
no one's gonna remember how to spell that, right? Like, don't make it hard to spell. You're essentially creating friction for potential shoppers, right?
Mhm.
By doing that. Like, make it easy to say, easy to spell, easy to remember. First thing, that's when it comes to name. When it comes to designing a logo, definitely keep it really simple. Remember, unless you're actually selling the logo on a t-shirt, which is not where I recommend starting. Maybe in the future you could do that.
Mhm.
But when no one knows what your brand is, why it exists, and no one really cares at the beginning, it's our job to get them to care, right? Don't just slap your products on don't just slap your logo on a t-shirt. But the point that I'm trying to make is, unless you're actually just slapping your logo on a t-shirt, it's not going to affect your conversions. It's not going to affect your sales. No one cares. And you can update it anytime. So
Yep.
don't worry too much about your logo. Keep it really, really simple. And a lot of times you can use templates. There's so many free logo makers out there. There's templates. If you use Canva, they've got, just type in logo and you can literally just change the name in there. They're pre-made. You can do the same thing in Kittle. You can do the same thing in Place It. Like, a lot of these tools have free logo makers.
Mhm.
I would start there, keeping it really simple and not overthinking it, because not many people care about your logo unless that's what you're actually selling on
Yeah.
your products. In terms of core products, yes, I definitely recommend having kind of a main focus.
Mhm.
I think a common misconception is that people are like, oh, they think they should only be selling t-shirts, but I would actually encourage people not just to sell t-shirts. Yes, t-shirts are the number one best-selling print on demand product year after year after year. So why not have that? It's kind of the low-hanging fruit of products, right? Yes, there's more competition, but there's also a lot of people buying t-shirts all the time.
Mhm.
So I do think it's great to incorporate those, but you can incorporate a couple non-apparel products. I generally, if I was creating an apparel brand, I would start with all apparel products. And what I encourage you to do when you are thinking of your core products is incorporate at least one core product that has higher profit. So t-shirts, your profit on a t-shirt might be $15, right? After the cost of production. But your profit on a sweatshirt or a hoodie, it's a higher price product and usually has a higher profit. So
Mhm.
what I love about that is that every time you sell one of those, you make a higher profit, and you can offer them like they're different price points, right? If someone just wants a t-shirt, they can buy the t-shirt for cheaper, and that's great. You made a sale. But if they also want a sweatshirt or a hoodie, if they only want a sweatshirt or a hoodie, that's awesome because you're going to make more profit on those products. And the more profit you make, the more of a budget you have for marketing.
Very good. Very good stuff. Thank you. Man, a lot to chew on there. Good stuff. I love that. Um, and so the last thing I just want to mention as you are in this planning stage, right? You're getting ready to like actually, take the action on this stuff, planning out what your brand is going to be. You should think about, and we don't talk about this very often, but you should think about, are you going to build your own brand or are you going to sell on a marketplace? We don't talk about this a lot, and I just wanted to bring it up because I get a lot of comments. In fact, I got a comment today on a YouTube video that asked me something like, is this print on demand active or passive income? Because I only want passive print on demand income.
Right.
And I know what they meant by that is they saw some other YouTubers video that was like, marketplace is passive and building a brand is active or something like
Right.
that. And I think this is a really important thing to think about is, do you want to sell on like Etsy, Teespring, you know, Redbubble, another big one. Do
Mm-hmm.
you want to sell on those kind of marketplaces or do you want to build your own brand?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a ton of pros and cons we could talk about on either. First thing I would say is I don't believe either of these opportunities are truly passive. There are
100%.
there are huge, parts of this business model that can be passive for sure. Production is the biggest one because just not having to produce your own products with print on demand is a game changer, right? That saves you
Mm-hmm.
tens of hours per week or more,
Mm-hmm.
um, and saves you a lot of employee headaches. So some parts can be passive, but neither is passive income. Okay, like just get that out of your head right now, right? They're both going to require work for sure,
Yeah.
and so there are pros and cons to each. But I just want to let you know that myself and Adrian, we are big believers in building your own brand. The couple main reasons that we believe that that's the best way. Well, number one, it's what we've done, so we've seen the success in it. Our students have also seen tons of success with it. But the biggest reasons that I can think of, number one, you get to own all of your customers' data, right? So, you can remarket to them, you can use it in other marketing efforts, you can build your email list, you can promote however you want to promote, right? And
Right.
that's a huge benefit. You're not at the mercy of a marketplace platform like an Etsy. You
Mm-hmm.
can't be, you're not, you're, it's a much lower likelihood that you're going to be shut down. You're not going to be bound by their rules on what you can and can't do. You're not going to be limited to those rules, right? That's one of the biggest reasons. I would say the second thing that I think of is when you think about building a long-term business, a brand that can make you, 6 and 7 figures per year for a long time, maybe a brand that you can own for the next 10 to 20 years, you're not going to be able to do that on an Etsy, a Redbubble, right? Like you need to build your own store. You're on your own platform that you own that you can build that can grow with you, throughout the years that can become that 7 figure or multi 7 figure brand. You just can't do that on an Etsy or Redbubble. Like it's great as a side hustle, but if you want it, if you're wanting to go on those marketplaces and really create a brand that's going to withstand the next 10 plus years, you're just not going to be able to do that, on a marketplace, right? You need to build your own brand. So that's something to think about, is how do you want to sell? Adrian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I love marketplaces as sales channels, but I would
Sure.
never build my business primarily on a marketplace. It's extremely risky. You're at risk of constant algorithm changes, constant policy changes. Accounts get terminated all the time for no reason. And I'm not saying a Shopify account can't get terminated. I've actually
Mhm.
never met a single person who's had their Shopify account terminated. I'm sure it happens, but I've never met a single person. Yet I hear about Etsy sellers having their accounts
Every
terminated
five
all the
seconds.
freaking time. It's like a daily occurrence.
I have
And
family members who have had their shut down. Like,
and
it's
it's for
crazy.
terrible reasons, if any at all. Like, they're not good reasons a lot of the
Yeah.
time. And a lot of times, Etsy won't even be clear on what the reason is. And then they can make it challenging to get it back too. Like, that could be the end. And so the way that I look at it is yes, you can have a successful business on Etsy. Yes, you can have a successful business on Shopify. But if you care about creating a profitable and sustainable long-term business and brand, Shopify hands down is the way to go, because you don't have to worry every day when you wake up, like, is my account terminated? Is my livelihood over? You know what I mean? I love Etsy for making sales. I sell on Etsy, but I've always been Shopify first.
Mhm.
And I just believe that if you want to build a profitable, sustainable brand, not just a business, a brand with brand loyalists and customers who love your brand, love why it exists, and buy again and again, Shopify is the way to go. Not to mention, you can not only do you have a lot more control in terms of scalability with the Shopify business through marketing, but you can also sell a Shopify business a lot easier than you
Mhm.
can sell an Etsy business. And I think a lot of people, well, first of all, I don't think Etsy actually allows people to sell their Etsy stores. But even if they did, people would be like, well, why would I buy this when I could just copy it? And I think
Sure.
that's so unethical. And I would never do that myself. And I don't encourage anyone ever to do that. But man, it's easy on Etsy, man, because you have barely any brand control. It's hard to differentiate. And it's essentially just a page of a bunch of listings. Someone could copy and steal that, like, in a very short period
Yeah.
of time. And how are you differentiating from them now? I mean, maybe you have like their social proof, like the reviews and the sales, right? So you're getting in front of more people, but that's a bigger risk. Whereas Shopify, there's more dimensions, right? Because you have a lot more brand control.
Mhm.
And I find that people on Shopify are going to be a lot more brand loyal. People go on Etsy not usually to buy from a specific shop
No.
there. Most of them go on Etsy and they just type in
Search.
a search and
Yeah.
they look for like the cheapest price or some other aspect that they care
Right.
about, right? Whereas Shopify is a very different beast in that sense.
Absolutely. Let's jump into number two. So that's number one, is like the planning, right? Like, what do you want to plan before you really start opening accounts, doing these kind of things? So the number two thing that you should do, what should you do next? You've got your niche, you've got your name, you've got your logo, you've got a plan of what your core products are going to be. You know who your ideal customer is. You know you want to sell, on your own brand, not on a marketplace. You've got your logo. Now, the second thing is you need to come up with your first 3 to 5 designs. Now, personally, I don't believe that you need like a ton of designs, right? You just need a few solid designs to launch and to start.
Mhm.
So you need to come up with your first 3 to 5 designs. And so I want to talk through some of the steps to do that. The first thing that I would do as you're coming up with your designs is I would research other designs in your niche. What is out there and what is selling? Now, what I'm not saying is, I'm not saying to copy those designs,
Right.
but in doing market research, you need to know what kind of designs and styles are already selling in your niche. Okay. So that would be, I'd probably just start on Google. I'd start on Google by typing in your niche plus apparel or plus t-shirts and trying some of these words and just seeing what comes up. Okay. Looking at other competitors, maybe bigger brands in that niche, looking at what their designs look like. You might even take some screenshots of some of the best selling designs so you can see, what kind of fonts they're using, what kind of color schemes, what kind of apparel styles are selling really well, right? And so you're just doing some research. You could go out on Etsy, like we mentioned. You could use a tool like Everbee. You could
Mhm.
see kind of what's selling on Etsy in your niche by typing in your niche plus t-shirt or plus sweatshirt, those kind of things. And so you want to do some research because that's going to help you shape what kind of designs you're actually going to create. I would also, next point I have here, look at current trends within your niche. Now, I'm not talking about design trends. I'm talking about what are the conversations happening in your niche? What are people talking about? Um, I mean, pickleball is always the example that comes to my head, but I want to try to think of another example. So let's say you're in the dog niche, right? And there's some health trend that people are talking about, right? They may be talking about some healthy food, some type of, health trend for your dog that people are doing to keep your dog more healthy. And you might want to create a t-shirt around that, right? So doing some research on what people are talking about, maybe that's on Reddit threads. It's most likely going to be on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and in different social media platforms. But you need to kind of look at what is being talked about, make note of that. And the last thing I want to talk about, trends, which we've talked about before, is also think about what are the current worldwide trend or even America, centric trends if you're focused in America or your country, but looking at just what are the global trends outside of your niche that can maybe then be used in your niche for a viral design. So I want to hear your thoughts on those three things: design research within your niche, looking at the trends, the topics and conversations in your niche, and then looking at those world trends. Adrian.
All right. I'm taking notes because I just want to organize my
Yeah,
thoughts here. There's so much I want to say. So in terms of design research, what you said about design research, yes, you can also apply the exact same strategy to content research. So
absolutely.
I definitely
So good.
recommend, like, when you are doing your research, think about not only designs that evoke emotion relatability, but also content that evokes emotion relatability for your ideal customer, for your niche. So definitely design research. My favorite three places are websites, so competitor websites, social media. I love
Mhm.
Instagram. I also like TikTok. And then marketplaces. Etsy's my probably single favorite place for design research because there's so much apparel on there, and you can just type in a keyword and all these designs come up. And what I also love about Etsy is there's so much validation. Like, you can go on a listing and you can see that it's in 20 carts right now. You can see that there are a whole bunch of recent reviews. You can see how many sales they've made. Like, there's so much validation there to prove, that gives you evidence that this is actually selling, and you can see if it's selling right now, right? If there's a lot of recent reviews on a product, you know it's selling right now. If the most recent review on this product is from a year ago, it's probably not selling much right now. So it's great for just getting really, really quick validation. And yeah, I mean, I love Everbee just as a time saver, right? Like, just really quickly run the data, look at it, organized by the best sellers. It gives a whole bunch of data estimates. They use an algorithm to project which, the monthly revenue, the monthly sales, and it's really helpful, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't matter to me so much the exact number. All I care about is it winning, and is it winning right now? Right? That's what I need to know. And I just want to know that as quickly as possible so that I can move on to other ones. So love websites, social media, and marketplaces for research. The second question was events in your niche. And then the third question was global events. Is that kind of right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I love this, like, creating timely stuff. And that's, that is something that's popular in the niche or globally, can definitely go a long way. I mean, you think about even just like something like seasonal, right? Like, no matter what
Mhm.
niche
Yeah.
I'm in, I'm gonna try to capitalize on seasonal holidays.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to lay over my niche with Halloween. Then I'm going to try to lay over my niche with Christmas for Christmas inspired
Yep.
designs. I'm going to lay it over for Mother's Day, maybe Easter. There's so many occasions. 4th of July. There's so many occasions that you can create designs for that still serve your niche, but they're relevant to something that is on people's minds right now. Like, you want
Mhm.
to leverage the attention. Where is the attention right now? Figure out something somewhere where the attention is, and try to find a creative way to use that for either your content or your designs. So definitely agree with that. And then global events, that too. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times, there's attention on just a couple. There's a lot of attention on a couple of things. And if you can find a creative way to leverage that attention, I mean, that can pay off well for you, even if it's for just a short window of time, right? I mean, think about how many people sit through presidential debates only to find one-liners that they can throw on a t-shirt and list in like a day, right? Like there's so many people that do this kind of
Man,
thing. So that goes to going where the
there's been some
attention is.
one-liners lately for sure.
What's
We're
that?
not going to talk about that, but man,
No,
it's crazy.
we don't get political here, but
Yeah.
we're not saying don't leverage politics, or we're not saying don't leverage politics with your niche. You don't have to get political to leverage politics. Right now, there's a lot of attention on the US election coming up.
Mhm.
You can create niche specific designs for that election that are in no way political and that no way favor one party or the other. An example that I love to use is like Taylor for President 2024, right? It's Taylor Swift's really popular. She's iconic. She's big in the media. But that's just one example. But another one is like my dog, my dog for president. If you're in the dog niche, find a creative way to blend where the attention is and your niche. That's one thing that I recommend always doing with your designs and your content. Try to stay as on niche as possible so that these products are super relevant for the people that you're trying to serve. Doesn't matter about the people you're not trying to serve. They're not your ideal customer. So make them relevant for your ideal customer. And then if you can evoke emotion and relatability, I mean, these are like recipes for success.
So good. So good. All right, we're gonna blast through these next couple on designs because we're gonna get a little more tactical just with software and different things that you can use. So the next thing here is you can also use the help of AI for ideas. It's another way that I love coming up with ideas, mainly for like slogans. Okay, like text slogans you're gonna put on your t-shirts or your designs. So let's give you an example. Let's say that you know your niche obviously by now, and you have this world event that's going on, right? And like say the election, for instance, you take the election and you want to come up with, let's say, 20 ideas combining your niche with the election. You can go to AI and you can literally say, hey, there's a presidential election going on right now in the United States, and you may maybe give it some more information, and you could say, I want to create 10 t-shirts that combine, pug dogs with the election. Can you give me 10 text-based ideas? Or they don't have to be text-based, but that's what I like to do is I like to get text-based ideas from AI. Can you give me 10 ideas combining these two things, right? It could also be, let's say it's books and coffee, right? You can go into AI and say, hey, I want 10, or you can say 50, however many you want. I want 50 text slogans that are less than 10 words that combine the niches of books, reading, and coffee, right? And AI will help you come up with all these different ideas. And I've been able to come up with some amazing ideas. Like they always shock me, what you can get out of this. But the key is what information you feed it. Feed it enough information where it knows what to do. But AI can be a really helpful tool, especially if you have a lot of times in my brain, Adrian, I have an idea, but I can't quite like make it make sense. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I really want to combine these two things. I really want to come, but I just can't fit it together. And so a lot of times I'll go to AI and say, hey, I want to come up with these ideas. I want to combine these two things. Help me do it. And AI will give you these clear ideas. So that can be a really cool way to use it. The next thing would be choosing your design software. We're trying to keep this brief. We've talked about a lot of these in different episodes, but here's a few softwares and maybe some brief information about them that you can start with, especially if you're a new seller, which everybody listening to this, you're probably a beginner. You're probably in those beginning stages. So number 1 and 2, Canva and Kittl. These are kind of like competitors. And let me be clear. It's Canva and Kittl, Kittl. Okay, these are kind of competitors, and they both do the same thing. It's online graphic design software, graphic design made easy, right? These run about $15 per month. They're both really great softwares. I don't know about you, Adrian, but lately I've been really loving Kittl. I've honestly just started using it the last month or two. I really love some of the tools that they have for specifically for print on demand sellers. Like
Yeah.
the way that they've really like made the tool so easy to use specifically for print on demand sellers. I really like it. Like I would probably recommend it for designs. I honestly think it's a little bit better than Canva in a lot of ways for like print on demand designs. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I use and love both Canva and Kittle.
Mhm.
I started with Canva because I don't think Kittle even existed when I
Yeah,
started. Um, and then when I learned Canva or Kittle, I was like, man,
so
I got
good.
kind of addicted to Kittle. And what I particularly love about Kittle, I still think both are great, and you
Yeah.
really only need one. But
Mhm.
I use and love both. I think both are really helpful. But what I love about Kittle more than anything, well, one, they're really clear in their terms of usage for commercial licensing. The Canva caused a lot of confusion in the
Mhm.
past about what can be used for print on demand and what can't. I feel like Kittle was a lot more crystal clear. They almost went in with the mindset like we know a lot of print on demand sellers are going to use our software, so
Yep.
let's make our terms so clear that they can use it. But my favorite feature of Kittle has to be the pre-made design templates, man. They're professionally designed. They look amazing. I mean, they were created by professional graphic designer Juna, our friend from Detour Shirts, who we're going to have on the podcast again soon. He's created design templates for Kittle. And if you go
So
in
cool.
Kittle, you can actually see his design templates that he's created and you can use them and you can just remove one element or you can change
Mhm.
the words, you can change the color schemes, right? But essentially, they make designs that look more complex, but 90% of the work is done for you. All you need to do is change out the text. If you want to change out or add some elements, they make it super, super easy. And that's my absolute favorite feature of Kittle. There's a lot of other things I like about it, but that's where I think a lot of print on demand sellers find it really valuable.
I really like it. I'm very impressed. I'm specifically also, I'm super into the AI stuff. I
Yeah.
was really impressed with their AI features, and I want to talk about that a little bit more in the next
Yeah.
point here. But I think they're way better than Canva. Like the AI features, I was pretty shocked.
Yeah.
Anyways, a couple other softwares that you can use. I want to talk about Placeit very briefly. It's Placeit. Placeit. Placeit is more of a mock-up software, but they do have thousands of design templates, and they do have a very, very basic editor in there. So a lot of people do use Placeit for designs, but comparatively to Kittle and Canva, I would not classify it as a design tool. It's more of a mock-up tool.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I just have Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator on here. You could also use Photopea. These are going to be way more advanced
Yeah.
tools. I wouldn't recommend them for the beginner, but a lot of people getting into, print on demand and apparel, starting an apparel business, they may have graphic design skills. That's a lot of people just have that, right?
Yeah.
And that's why they get into this type of business because they have graphic design skills. So if you do Photoshop, Illustrator, Photopea, or Photopea, those can be great softwares as well. The next point here, you need to think about how will you get your design elements. When I say design elements, I'm talking about like the fonts, the icons that might go in your design, or the creative part of the design, right? A lot of designs can just be text based, right? They can just be text on a t-shirt with a cool font,
Mhm.
but many designs have different design elements, whether that's something you're creating from scratch, whether that's, it might be a picture of a dog, it might be a pickleball, it might be, those kind of things. Like design elements. Where are you going to get those design elements? Two different ways two different primary ways that are very easy to get different design elements. Number one is you can just use the design elements or purchase design elements from like a marketplace or use the ones in like Canva or Kittle. Or number two, you can create more specific design elements through the use of AI tools, AI image generators. So if you want to get your own design elements, um, number one, you can use the ones inside Canva or Kittle if you're using those kind of software, or you could go out and purchase more design elements that are more specific to what you need. I should say that maybe have different creative aspect to them. That you could get those on places like Etsy. You could purchase them. You could purchase them on Creative Fabrica. We've talked about Creative Fabrica on the pod before. You could go out to Creative Market. There are these marketplaces where people sell their design elements. And a lot of times they sell things that specifically work really great on t-shirts. An example would be like, if I wanted to do a football design, needed a little icon of a football, right? I could go out, search one of these marketplaces, find a little pack of 25 footballs, and then pick the one I like the best for my design. So there are places where you can get those. The other way is through the use of AI. And you can use AI software to specifically tell it what you want to create, and it will create that. Some of the best examples, Ideogram, I've talked about a ton. Really, really great for t-shirts and print on demand designs. Midjourney, which is my personal like favorite AI software out of all of them. And the one that I've been playing with, I just did a video about it, is the AI inside of Kittle. I just talked about it a minute ago, but I want to touch on that really quickly. The Kittle AI, some of the features are really good. The image generator, the AI image generator, I think is good. It may not be the best one out there, but I think it's decent. But what I really like, Adrian, and I don't know how much you've played with this. I really love like the vectorizer option in there. Such a cool option. It basically takes your image and just breaks it down to like one color or two colors or three colors. Like you can specify the amount of colors. I really like that. I think that's really, really cool. So that's a way that you can, using AI either inside Kittle or Midjourney or Ideogram or a number of other AI softwares, you can actually create a design element from scratch that you can then use in your design. Any thoughts on that before we keep going?
Yeah, my favorite places to get elements. Well, first of all, if you're using Canva or Kittle, you can just search elements and they'll have a whole bunch. So that's where I'd recommend everyone start. If you want an insane like selection, Creative Fabrica is your guy. Creative Fabrica is your place. They have over 9 million graphics that you can use for your designs. And they've got graphics for seemingly everything. I also love them for fonts. So Canva and Kittle have a lot of built-in fonts, and you can just use those if you want. But if you want more variety, then Creative Fabrica, you get over 9 million graphics to choose from. And then they have over 177,000 fonts to choose from too. So those are my favorite places. I use and love all three of those. I've played around with Kittle AI, and I actually made a YouTube video recently where I showed creating something with a Kittle AI designed kind of element, and it turned out really well. I've played with Canva AI and I've played with Kittle AI, and I definitely think Kittle AI is better right now. Maybe that'll change, but yeah, I like the features and functionality. I feel like Kittle's really gone heavy on the AI, like they're like the features, and I agree with you that they have a lot of great features for specifically for creating designs.
It seems like Canva, when a lot of times when they release the AI features, it's like they're not ready or they're not they're not that useful yet. And like the Kittle ones, they're actually useful. Like you can use them right now and actually get good stuff, which is like makes sense.
Yeah, the first time I did a Kittle AI design, it was awful, man.
Oh, it was?
I put a prompt. I think my prompt was like, create a design of a cat reading a book or something, and it was just terrible. And then Kittle, like the first time trying Kittle, I was way more impressed like with the first thing that it came out.
I think you said,
of course.
I think you said Kittle.
Perfect, but what's that?
I think you said Kittle for the first one. You meant to say Canva.
I meant Canva was terrible. The first time I used Canva AI to create. Yeah, sorry if I messed that up. But when I used Canva AI, it was so bad. And then when I used Kittle AI for the first time, I was very impressed. So no AI is perfect, and both of them still have a ways to go. But I do think Kittle leads the pack over Canva in terms of AI functionality and results.
Yeah, and it's really cool to just have it built in right there to the software, because you don't have to go to a third-party software, an outside software to get that stuff. You can literally just type it in right there as you're designing, which is really cool. They also have in Kittle, they have like a quote generator, which uses AI, which is awesome. The vectorizer, the background remover. It's a lot of really cool features in there. So the last step, using the elements you got from, one of these places that we've talked about, plus putting those into your design software, you need to put together your first 3 to 5 designs. Last thing I would say in this section is keep your design simple. 1 to 2 elements are proven to be just having 1 to 2 elements in your designs proven to be the best selling designs. Simple sells. We recently went over, I don't know if it was on the pod or maybe just on maybe I did on YouTube. We went over some information, stats from Printify that showed that, simple designs by far outsell complex designs. 1 to 2 design elements, maybe just text-based or text-based with an image. Those are the best selling. So let's keep moving on. So you've got your designs created. You've chosen a niche, all that stuff. I've been saying niche. I haven't even been messing it up for like the last year, and I just said niche again. That was like the
I
first time
heard
in a
you. I was
year.
like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Your
Yeah,
Oklahoma's coming out, man.
I went
I'm just
that.
kidding.
I went that. Choose a niche. Yeah,
The Oklahoman in you is coming out.
it comes out sometimes. Comes
Yeah.
out.
So
All right.
funny.
Moving on to number 3. The number 3 thing is you need to build your e-commerce store, right? So you need to put these designs into a store. You need to put your logo in there and start creating this store. Open a Shopify account. We love and recommend Shopify. We've done many episodes on Shopify, so we're not going to go in depth there. But Shopify is the best e-commerce platform, bar none, hands down. It's the best.
Amen.
So use it. Open a free print-on-demand account. Your print-on-demand account is going to be separate from your Shopify account, right? These are 2 separate places you're going to need to open an account. 99% of print-on-demands have a free account you can open, free version. You don't have to pay extra per month to use them. And again, just want to reference episode 80 if you want to kind of have an in-depth breakdown of how to choose a print-on-demand. Go back to episode 80. The next step is once you get that print-on-demand account, create your print-on-demand products. Inside your print-on-demand software, you're going to add your design to the products that you want to sell in your store, and you're going to list those on your Shopify store. It's a really simple process. In the software, you choose a t-shirt, you slap your design on there, you fill out some information, and it's going to publish that in your Shopify store once you have that store and your print-on-demand account connected, okay? So you're going to take your designs, create your products, and sync them over to your Shopify store. The next thing is a really big one that so many people I know get hung up on. You need to design your Shopify store. You got to make it look pretty, okay? So I'm going to give you some quick tips because this could definitely be a whole episode and it gets a little too complex and technical. So we're gonna blow through this, but I do want to give you some of my best tips on designing your Shopify store. Number 1, simple is best. Keep it simple. Do not try to do too much with your Shopify store. And I'm going to talk about that as I go through the rest of these. Pick a free theme from Shopify. You don't need a paid theme. There's like 13 free themes in Shopify. The ones we would recommend, Dawn, Color Block, and Spotlight are all 3 specifically for apparel brands. So those themes are like optimized for apparel brands. So Dawn, Color Block, or Spotlight would be the ones that I recommend you check out. Those are completely free with your Shopify account. Next, 2 colors for your brand. Don't go wild with the colors, okay? Keep it simple. 1 to 2 colors. Keep your background white on your store. Just simple design, okay? Keep it
100% white background. All about that.
All about it. 1 to 2 fonts. Same thing. Don't go too crazy with the fonts. You want a headline font and you want a body font. The headline font is more of a bold font generally. The body font's going to be a simple font, like an Arial, right? Easy to read. Okay. So you want 1 to 2 fonts. So 2 colors, 1 to 2 fonts, white background, free theme. Just keep it simple. I want to give you a quick, just kind of layout of your homepage that you can follow, starting from the top as you're designing. You want to have your logo up there. You want to have a navigation menu. Generally, what we see is that after that, brands have a banner, that kind of just a large banner. Then you have either your best sellers or new arrivals. Some brands do both, but I would probably recommend picking one of those, your best selling designs or your new arrivals. Then you might have your collections. So, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, those kind of things. About us, a little bit about your brand. And then you want to have some reviews that you can showcase on your front page to build that social proof and trust in your brand. I'm going to finish these out, Adrian. Then I'm going to come to you.
Do it. Keep going, man. This is great stuff.
I'm on a roll. Next, you want to make sure that you rewrite your product descriptions. Okay. So don't use the stock product descriptions that come from your print on demand provider. Those are really bad and those are going to hurt you more than help you. So, the biggest tip I have for you with writing product descriptions is focus on benefits over features. Okay. A feature would be, 5.3 ounce yards squared cotton, whatever, right?
Right,
Uh,
right.
uh, what? What'd you say?
No, no, totally.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
nobody knows what that means.
Nobody,
I don't even
yeah.
know what that
It's
means.
like, yeah, like shoulder taped, side collar, like it's a t-shirt. Um, Instead of focusing on those features, focus on the benefits. How is it going to fit? How is it going to feel? How soft is it? How quick is it going to ship to them? Right? These are the benefits. Um, Last thing I have here, last tip for building out your Shopify store, start with a simple shipping model. Don't make your shipping too complicated. Okay. You can start with one of these two options: free shipping on all orders. Works great. Super simple, right? Just free shipping on all orders. Make sure you build that shipping into your pricing model. Or you can do free shipping over $40 or $50 when a customer makes an order of maybe $40 or $50. So you're incentivizing them to spend a little bit more to buy multiple products. And so below, let's say $40, you can charge $4.95 or $5.95 for shipping. Above $40, you can give them free shipping. That was a mouthful. Those would be my biggest, just quick tips on building out a Shopify store. Adrian.
So much good stuff there. So much good stuff. A couple things. So first of all, when it comes to your product page, there's two things that people care about a lot. Aside from the actual design itself, they want to know how it fits and when it's going to be on their doorstep. They
Yeah.
don't care about the processing time. They don't care about the production time. They don't care about the delivery time. Just tell them when it's going to be delivered to them. From by delivery time, I mean the shipping time, but like just tell them when it's going to be on their doorstep from the day that they order it. And these will be provided by your print on demand company. They'll usually give you ranges, and that's what I recommend that you do is use those ranges. And you can even build in a buffer if you want to like add an extra day on the range. Maybe your print on demand says 6 to 9 days, and maybe you say 7 to 10 days, just, to buy yourself that extra day in case something goes wrong. But that's really, so many people on their website, they say, oh, it's 1 to 3 days to process. Then there's 3 to 5 days to produce, and then a couple of days to ship. And you're like, nobody cares about all that. You're overcomplicating it. Just keep it really simple. What's the estimated delivery date? And so have a sizing guide so people know how it's going to fit, and let them know when it's going to be delivered to them. Those are two very important things that if they don't find it on the product page, then they're probably going to go somewhere else looking for this. And that's the last thing you want. Like the intention of the product page is to get them to click the add to cart button and to complete their purchase. But if you don't give them all the information they need to be comfortable making their purchase, they're going to go search on your website. It's going to lead to a bad shopper experience, and they might just leave if they can't find it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to give them all the information that they need to be comfortable making a purchase, and no more than that. Now, in terms of the homepage layout, a couple things. So I just kind of wrote some quick notes here, but navigation menu, keep it really simple. The navigation menu is essentially just the drop downs that you have at the top of your website. One might say shop, and then there's a drop down that says, best sellers, new arrivals, and stuff like that. Or you can lay them out. You can have like best sellers is one, new arrivals is another, and then shop by category, or just shop where it drops down to different product types. Keep that really clean and really simple. The banner that Kerry was referring to, this is just an image. It's like a big image. And I highly recommend leveraging that real estate to promote a product. So many times people don't promote their products there. They'll do a product, they'll do like, let's say pickleball, right? They'll have an image of someone playing pickleball, but it won't even be showing one of their products. And I'm like, that's some of the most valuable real estate on your homepage, because it's the first thing people see. And a lot of people don't scroll down the page. They don't scroll to all the page, right? So if they're going to see anything, that's the first thing. So that's a missed opportunity if you are not promoting one of your products there. And then in terms of below that, I love putting bestsellers directly below, because statistically, those are the products that are the best sellers.
Yes.
They're the ones that are
Yes.
likely to sell. So it's important that you're holding their attention by showing them your best products. Gold up front. Like, show them your best products, the ones that are going to be most likely to get them to convert. That's why I like putting best sells at the top. Then collections. I usually like doing this by product type. So t-shirts, t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, sweatshirts. Boom. Those are the 4 product type collections, and then do new arrivals under there. And then in terms of social proof, generally this is going to be customer reviews. And there's a lot of apps that you can use in the Shopify App Store. They're customer review apps. So they make it really easy to collect testimonials. And that's usually what I recommend. My favorite is Looks, but there's a lot of different ones out there. So yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So at this point in the process, you have a store with real products in it, right? And you're ready to start preparing for your marketing efforts, actually getting people to your website to potentially make a purchase. So the number 4 and kind of final step in this process is I want you to prepare for your marketing efforts. Now, in this episode, we're not really getting into the specific marketing strategies, right? But there is some small preparation that you need to do to get ready for your marketing. Number 1, you need to think about what is going to be your primary social media platform. We talk about this a lot, but what is going to be the platform that you're going to sell on primarily? The best thing I think you could do in this situation is look at where your ideal customer is already hanging out. That's most times where you want to go, right? If they're primarily on Instagram, it's got to be on Instagram. If they're primarily on Facebook, TikTok, whatever, that's where you want to be. So you need to determine your primary social media platform. As a side point to this, I would recommend that you go ahead and open both a Facebook business page and an Instagram account. Even if those aren't going to be your primary platform, I would still go ahead and open those, primarily because you're going to need a Facebook and Instagram account to run Facebook and Instagram ads. If you want to go that direction, you don't have to run ads at the beginning. In fact, we don't normally recommend it as your first marketing thing that you do as far as selling. We recommend the organic side, but I think it's important as you're preparing for your marketing efforts to go ahead and open these accounts so that they're ready for you when you want to start running ads, and so that people can find you on those platforms, because they do frequently go to Facebook or go to Instagram to find these kind of brands. Okay. Next, I would go ahead and open a Meta Ads Manager account for the business. So you'll just have an ad account ready, so that when you're ready to run ads, it will be there. And you can also take an extra step and you can connect the Ads Manager account to your Shopify store. And all you have to do to do that is go install the Facebook and Instagram app in the Shopify app store. It walks you through all the steps and makes it really easy to connect up your ad account with your Shopify store. Okay, so opening social media accounts, opening an Ads Manager account, and getting it connected to Shopify are those steps. The last thing, which is where I want to spend the remainder of our time, is you need to open an email marketing account. The platform that we would recommend is called Klaviyo, or Klaviyo, however you want to say it, Klaviyo. Adrian, I've been using Klaviyo for like a billion years, and that was the first one that I ever had when I started. Yeah. And it's just an email marketing platform. So you can build an email list, you can send out emails, to that list, and you can sell your products to them. The biggest things to know when you start your email marketing account on Klaviyo or any other platform, you could use MailChimp, you could use OmniSend. I mean, there's a lot of them. The big things that I would recommend, that you set up abandoned cart emails, which means when anybody goes to buy a product on your website and they go to checkout and then they leave before they buy, they'll actually get emails that try to get them to come back and finish their purchase. You'll set up abandoned cart emails. You'll set up an email capture pop-up on your website. So all that is when somebody comes to your website, within about 10, 15 seconds, a little pop-up comes up that says, hey, you want 10% off? Give me your email, right? It's a little pop-up. We've all kind of experienced those. And then I would also recommend setting up a welcome sequence, which means when people do enter their email into that little pop-up, they're actually going to get emails that then try to get them to make a purchase and kind of welcome them to the family for becoming a part of your brand. So open an email marketing account, set up abandoned cart emails, set up an email capture pop-up, and set up a simple, even if it's just a 3 email welcome sequence. That was a lot to digest. Email marketing is very, very important. And so I wanted to, spend a little bit of time there. Adrian, your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, the fortune is in the follow up and
Yeah,
that email marketing. Like, boom,
let's go.
email marketing is so valuable. For most brands, it's the best return on investment of any marketing platform. So you definitely want email. If you are not doing email, you are leaving a ton of money on the table. So I love email marketing and I love breaking it up into really two types. Like you said, you want a primary platform and a secondary platform. Primary platform, usually social media, where you can reach people and attract them, get their attention, get them to follow you, and then bring them over to your email list, which is a lot easier to convert people than it is on social media. You can definitely still convert people on social media organically, and lots of people do, but email marketing is easier. They're more likely to convert over there. So Instagram is hands down my favorite primary platform, but there
Same.
are rare exceptions where that's not the best platform to market to people. Like, if my target market was like people in their 70s, baby boomers,
Mhm.
retirees, Facebook would probably be a better primary channel for you. If I was trying to get really young Gen Zs, I would probably focus on TikTok. But
Mhm.
Instagram is hands down my favorite. And the other thing I wanted to say about email marketing, yeah, I absolutely love Klaviyo. It's what I use, love, and recommend. There are other marketing platforms that can totally work. I've used OmniSend in the past. I actually thought it was really good. What
Mhm.
I love about Klaviyo is it was built for e-commerce. And when it comes to creating these automations that you were talking about, they call them flows in Klaviyo. They have a template library. Like they have a library in Klaviyo where they're pre-made for you, and you only
Templates
need
are
to
so
make
good.
really, really tiny tweaks, like input your logo and
Yeah.
change a couple of words, and then you can turn them on, and they're working for you. And you can always be improving on them, right? But this is a great place to start when you're trying to just keep everything really simple.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, as we're wrapping up this episode, I want to send a huge thank you to you for listening through this episode with us. And I also just want to, again, send an invite to all of our listeners out there. If you are a beginner and you're wanting to start up a brand new apparel or print on demand t shirt brand, come hang out with me at the Launch Your Brand Challenge next week. It starts on July 29th, and I teach live for 5 days. And I'm going to be going deeper on a lot of the subjects that we talked about today. You'll be able to see my screen. I'll walk you through demonstrations and tutorials on how to set up this stuff. So come hang out with me at the Launch Your Brand Challenge, July 29th. It's $5 to attend, and you can go over to kerryegler.com/LYB to register your spot. Also see the show notes down in the description. We put that link. I want to thank you so much for listening today. This was a fun episode. Adrian, thanks for hanging out, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Print on Demand Playbook podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us an honest review on whichever platform you're listening on. Thank you so much, and we will talk very soon.